I still butchered it twice in a row. I'm so sorry. Paul McCartney. That's one of Paul McCartney's very few good songs. Oh, so bad. Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. It is Friday. Ooh, I didn't even change my captions, did I? It is Friday, April 14th. Not April 13th. That would be weird if it was April 13th, but it's not. It's April 14th. I hope everybody's doing well out there in the world. My name is Alan Collins. Welcome if you're new to the group. What took you so long? Tell everyone you know about this group. This group actually knows the path to solving the student loan problem, and it has nothing to do with the nonsense we're seeing in the news today, let me just say. And I'll talk about that in a minute. Two announcements. Number one, we need state chapter leaders. Well, first of all, let me tell you, we are the oldest, largest, and only true grassroots group in the world, country, certainly, country, and thus the world, and thus the universe, fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. We've been on for 18 very long years now. We care only about solving the loan problem. We're not trying to build a fiefdom in Washington, D.C. or at some university or other think tank. We don't do any of that stuff, guys. We're just trying to solve this problem. We've got over 1.4 million members now. That's great. Tell everyone you know about this group. We need them. We need state chapter leaders, believe it or not. We have 50 fully functioning state chapters. It's on Facebook. Sorry about that if you don't like Facebook. We need inspired, courageous, outspoken, strong state chapter leaders. These groups are getting pretty big now. We've got, like, I want to say 600 people in the state of California, all the way down to, like, I think 7 people in the state of North Dakota. We have leaders for most of these groups, but, you know, we need more strong people leading all of these states, quite frankly. You know, leaders are great. If we have 2 or maybe leaders in a state, that's fine. If you think you have what it takes, let me know and we'll talk. If you're doing this for the right reason, then it'll be pretty obvious and we will very, very gladly give you a shot. It's a fight worth fighting. It's the most noble cause that's around today, in my humble opinion. Also, please donate for the van, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this is the last weekend that I have to be calling for this. We need to raise something like $1,200 or less, actually less than $1,200 at this point. So that's the equivalent of like 60 people donating $20 or more. This should be very quick. And if you're listening to me, please make this fundraising just a little easier on us, if you would, please. We may be the largest group in the nation fighting for student loan justice and stuff, but I'm telling you guys, fundraising is just exceptionally difficult for us. I'm no good at it. I don't like to do it. We don't even need that much money at all, like a few $1,000s a month. But it's just always been notoriously difficult for us to fundraise. And that's kind of the nature of the beast. That's the way this thing goes. When you're a truly honest group and you don't do deals with rich people and rich interests and sell out your agenda and stuff like that. So anyways, yeah, those are my 2 comments, 2 announcements for tonight. One other quick announcement. If you happen to live in Nebraska, we've got an interview request from a very, very popular, in fact, the most well-known and respected news organization in the country of Switzerland. Who knew? Who knew they cared about this? If you have student loans, if you live in Nebraska, then there's people in Switzerland who would like to interview you. I think they may even want to come to your house. I think they're going to be in Nebraska. And this is regarding the Nebraska suit challenging student loan Biden's student loan cancellation, which sucks, by the way. And I can talk about that later if you really want me to. So the big news of today, and I'm only going to, I swear to God, I am not going to spend more than 45 seconds talking about this. It's the lawsuit that has sucked all the air out of the room for decades now, the BDR nonsense. They approved, finally, Supreme Court denied a challenge. It's a bunch of bullshit. They're finally going to cancel $6 billion in student loans for 200,000 people. To those 200,000 people, congratulations, you must be thrilled. Now, I've only got about 15 seconds left. The whole thing is fake. The whole thing is fake in the first place. These are loans that should have been canceled so many years ago. The people running that Harvard program, like people like Deanna Lunan, they have gone to great lengths in the past to kill the push for the return of bankruptcy protections. They're not trying to solve this problem. They're trying to pimp this problem. $6 billion is nothing. $200 billion would have accrued in interest alone on the federal portfolio during the 2 years that Biden's been in office. $1 trillion in interest has clicked off on the federal student loan portfolio since this BDR bullshit has begun. It sucks all the air out of the room. Pay no attention to it. Again, we're glad that some people are actually getting relief finally. But guys, this is bullshit. They could do this forever, and it only perpetuates this predatory, unconstitutional lending scam. Don't count on the elites at Harvard or anywhere else to solve this problem. They're completely full of shit. And quite frankly, they ought to be ashamed of themselves. The people at Harvard should have been fighting for the return of bankruptcy protections since 2005 and before, when we first started student loan justice. These people are disgusting and they're obscene, and they ought to be ashamed of themselves. And they owe a lot of people an apology for keeping their foot on the necks of student loan borrowers for decades now. All right, it took more than 45 seconds. I apologize. I don't even want to talk about that. Literally, me talking about it is degrading and insulting to me and to you, by the way. We've got bigger fish to fry. So if I can see your questions or comments on Facebook and or Twitter, then by all means, throw them up, and I am very, very glad to read them aloud and respond to them in situ. Tonight, I want to talk about something. I don't say this enough. I mean, we say it all the time, but we never really make a big deal out of it. The federal student loan program, the entire thing, absolutely must be terminated, ended, canceled. And, Christina Winton in Arizona brought this up to me today, saying that we should make a thing out of this, like a big deal out of it. And I agree. Maybe we don't say it loudly or unambiguously enough. I don't know. But it's true, ladies and gentlemen. And this is not a radical opinion that I'm putting forth. This is a very well-studied opinion that rests on nothing more than very rational arguments based on hard data. And let me just take you through it. I'm going to give you the elevator pitch to save time. So this is the elevator pitch. The student loan system is failed catastrophically like no other lending system we've ever seen in this country. The default rate for 2004 borrowers was going to be 40%. And is probably going to wind up being much higher than 40%. The subprime home mortgage rate, by comparison, was only 8%. Now, people who left college in 2004, they were borrowing less than a third of what is being borrowed today. So what is the default rate going to be for all borrowers walking around right now? Well, even before the pandemic, it was going to be 70, 75%. Like, what is that when the large majority of the borrowers in a lending system wind up defaulting on their loans? That's a fatally broken and nationally threatening lending scam. But it gets better, guys. Even before the pandemic, 60% of all borrowers were not making payments on their loans. 60% before the pandemic. What do you think it's going to be when they try and turn these loans back on? It's probably going to be 80%. It would be my best guess, maybe, but frankly, I think it'll probably be higher than that. We also know that even before the pandemic, again, and these are all very well researched, sourced, and defendable claims. Even before the pandemic, 85% of all borrowers were underwater on their loans. So as I said, most of them, 60%, were not making payments at all. And another 25% were paying, but their loan balances were going up, not down, up. This lending system is finished, ladies and gentlemen, by all rational metrics and measures. The worst possible thing that anybody can do is allow this lending program to continue. The amount of social damage that this thing has caused across the country far outweighs the benefits. When the majority of people, who get these loans, it turns out to be the absolute worst and the most devastating financial decision they ever made in their lives. That's a national threat. We have a national threat on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. And the absolute worst thing that we can do is continue doling these predatory loans out to primarily our young people, but also their parents, increasingly their parents. This lending system is poisonous. It's a cancer. It's got to go. And the most, the smartest thing to do for all parties involved, most especially the country as a whole, the lending system should be suspended, i.e. indefinitely, suspended, i.e. ended. And, the big question is, what do we do then? Well, and that's a loaded question. There's some good ideas for what the next higher education financing model should look like. I would say, and I've thought about this very carefully over many years, off the cuff, I wouldn't even put forth a choice at this point, because that's something that, quite frankly, Congress needs to arrive at based on all the nonsense that Congress does. What I do think is that this president, or maybe the next, but really this president, but for the bad politics in this country, this president would immediately suspend the lending program, which I haven't looked very carefully at, but I suspect that the president, if he really wanted to, he could find a way to suspend the lending program. He might have to declare a national emergency, but I suspect that he could throw a wrench in the works sufficient that nobody would get loans going forward. Now, in the interim, I would strongly suggest, and again, this stuff may have to go through Congress. I haven't researched it that closely, so don't take my word. Don't take what I say as gospel. But as far as how to do it, but I do think that maybe for a year, while the lending system is done, we should probably put the colleges on direct funding, so direct taxpayer funding, instead of throwing $100 billion at the colleges in the form of loans for hopefully a year, hopefully not longer than a year. We should just put them on direct funding, and probably we shouldn't be giving them $100 billion. I think that's way too much. My humble personal opinion is maybe we could ratchet that down to $80 billion or so for a year, and do a clean discount across the board, or maybe possibly do a sliding haircut for the colleges depending on how rich they are, because there are some really very, very stupidly rich colleges, and there are some colleges that sort of eke to get by. That's true. But the lending system has got to be suspended, i.e. ended. The colleges should probably be put on some sort of direct funding for the federal government for hopefully no more than a year. And Congress should use that year to create, and pull the trigger on a new, fair, rationally priced, not predatory financing mechanism for these colleges. And I've got some ideas there, actually, but we don't want to whistle past the graveyard here and go straight to what the next thing should be, because that's where this conversation has stalled for decades. People go, yeah, we should cancel some loans or return bankruptcy, blah, 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 blah. But what are we going to replace it with? That's the real question. No, that's not the real question. The 800-pound gorilla in the room right fucking now, for my French, are the 38 or 9 million people in the country who are never going to be able to repay their federal student loans, and whose lives are being wrecked by this debt. That is the question we need to answer. That is the problem that we need to solve right now. The next higher education funding model, be that loans or grants or whatever it is, that can wait. The loans must be canceled, obviously. Now, what we have found, and I'm sort of rambling here, but I'm not, This group is fighting for the return of bankruptcy rights to student loans. It is the absolute first thing that absolutely must happen to solve your student loan problem. Whether you would ever file or never file for bankruptcy, it's not important. We have seen over 18 years of very close, careful, and thorough consideration. Unless and until we get the constitutionally enshrined threat of bankruptcy rights returned to us, we're going to be begging Joe Biden and the next Secretary of Education or the next president. We're going to be begging those people for fucking ever, pardon my French, and we will get this nonsense like what we're seeing right now, this bullshit loan cancellation from Joe Biden, these never-ending stupid court cases like the BDR thing. And again, I applaud and congratulate everybody that's getting their loans canceled after 12 years of waiting. And nothing against those people, but this is no longer about them. This is about us. This is about the people who never were in the running for the BDR. And I'm not about to entertain one more fucking year of bullshit court cases. Thankfully, the Supreme Court will be ruling on Biden's gimmick, and it is a gimmick, shortly, probably this summer. In fact, I'd be stunned if they didn't rule on it this summer. But guys, we cannot count on the lawyers in Washington, D.C. or in Massachusetts or elsewhere to solve this problem for us. The lawyers have proven again and again and again and again that they have no actual desires or intentions of solving this problem. They are pimping this problem. They're making their living off of this problem. The last thing they want to do is actually solve this problem. That's what lawyers do. That's what most lawyers do. There's a couple of good lawyers out there, but certainly I don't know of any in the student loan space. So the loans have to be canceled. That will only happen when we get the threat of bankruptcy returned. That's the most important policy point I have for you tonight. But, I say that every single night, all the time, always, forever. And not forever, but for 18 years that we've been doing this. But, maybe a stronger point that we as a group need to make is the fact that, yes, indeed, the lending system must be canceled. It's a national threat. And I hope that the data that I just said sort of proves that. I could probably sit here for another hour and put forth to you various other data points that proves that this lending system is finished. Well, here's one quick one. Over a third of states in the United States, the people of those states, student loan debt of the people of those states now exceeds the entire annual state budget of those states. So we're talking about states like Texas and Florida and Oklahoma, Tennessee, North and South Carolina, Maryland is terrible, Missouri, New Hampshire, Alabama, the entire South. I said North and South Carolina, Georgia. Georgia is the absolute worst. Florida is also, depending on how you count the worst, Florida, you may want to say that that's the worst. But this cannot continue, ladies and gentlemen. It cannot continue. But for the bad politics in this country, where the people who found a way to make money off of this scam, and I'm talking about members of Congress, primarily, whether that's direct funding into their campaigns, whether it's hush-hush little sneaky deals that their family members do off to the side, whether it's stock that they have invested in blind trust funds or whatever. There's a million ways to get money out of the student loan cash cow if you're a member of Congress or their friends. But for the bad politics, this lending system would have been thrown on the scrap heap of failed U.S. policy experiments many years ago. And maybe the last point that I'll make tonight is, ladies and gentlemen, I say this often, and I'm going to say it again, and I mean it even more strongly today than I've ever said it before, ever. It is not only unwise, but it is hugely unpatriotic to pay your money into the federal student loan program ever again. It's bad. It's bad in every way. It hurts you. It hurts the country. This is a lending beast. It is a cancer. It should not be fed. It should be starved out of existence. So if you ever pay another dollar on your federal student loans, first of all, I would say shame on you. And yeah, you're still welcome in this group. I understand. I do what they do. But I'm here to tell you that if you do, you will be in this very small minority of all federal student loan borrowers. My best estimate is that whenever they try and turn these loans back on, not even quite 20% of the borrowers, 1 in 5, will actually resume paying. I think it'll be less than that, actually. In fact, it could be nobody. I mean, it could be that by the time it comes time to try to turn these loans back on, the national attitudes among the borrowers will have crystallized to the point where student loans are just one huge national joke. And that's pretty kind of already happened. But anyways, if you ever pay another dollar on your federal student loans, you will be in the very small minority of all borrowers. And that doesn't make you a better person than other people because you pay. That makes you, in my opinion, a worse person because you fed the beast and you allowed your weakness to allow you to be intimidated by a fucking ridiculous big government lending joke. And you allowed yourself to be coerced and compelled. Shame on you. You're still welcome in this group. Obviously, I get it. So there's a lot of scared people out there, and many people have some reasons for not paying. But what I will say to everybody else, the other 80% or 85% or maybe 90% or more of people who are not going to be resuming paying on their loans, bulletproof yourself. Just be smart about things. We don't know how this is going to go. If we would have gotten bankruptcy rights back last session, this group may not even be around at this point because, quite frankly, that would have been problems. When we get the right of bankruptcy returned, it's a very direct path from there to seeing very widespread loan cancellation, seeing people get just massive and long-awaited breaks on interest. Whatever you want to see happen with your student loans, it will happen. It can happen. It will finally be able to happen when we get the threat of bankruptcy rights back. So we've got to fight for this, guys. The Democrats betrayed us viciously last session. We can't let that happen again. We're going to need your help going forward more than ever. And guys, if there was another group fighting this battle in the way that it needed to be fought, I wouldn't be here. I would go maybe join that group or maybe just give them some money or something. Or that group does not exist. Well, that group exists, but it is us. It is this group right here. And the other groups are just completely full of shit. You know, I don't know if you guys saw my live stream last night, but the other groups are just terrible. Anyways, don't count on any of the other groups to solve your problem for us. Don't count on this group to solve your problem for you. We are a working, fighting group. All that we are people fighting together. And if you're not fighting, you should leave. You should go join one of those other groups. They'll be more than happy to have you. They'll probably give you some porn so you can sit there, kick back, pretend like you're fighting and watch them move around and pretend to fight. And you guys can all have a big, happy circle jerk together or something, whatever you guys do over there. I don't care. We need fighters on this group. This is a battle, and it is your battle. And the people who are on this group, I think, would agree with me that it feels good to fight this battle. And you're not better than us, by the way. You can't expect anybody to pull your weight for you because these are your student loans and this is your problem and this is your livelihood on the line. So you better get off your ass. You better quit lying to yourself and telling yourself, oh, okay, well, I just read that article, so looks like things are going to be okay. And, oh, cool, I don't get it. I can stop thinking about student loans for another month or year or weeks or whatever. No, that's bullshit. This is your problem. The people in the newspapers are not going to solve this problem for you. The only thing that has ever done anything meaningful for this lending bullshit are people. And I would say people on this group. You know, it is this group that brought the whole idea of loan cancellation by executive order into the public conversation in the first place. But for our petition skyrocketing to over 1 million signatures, I don't think Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer ever would have picked up on that. I don't think they would have. It was the people on this group that made that happen. Now, Joe Biden's loan cancellation is crap, and it sucks, and they completely ruined what started out as a very strong idea. But the book is not yet written on that. The last chapter has not been written on that. So, but it started with this group. And if you don't believe me, do a Google News search for student loan cancellation and quote unquote executive order, and look for the very first article you can find on that. And I think you'll find a Vice News article where we were interviewed back in August 2019, way before anybody was talking about canceling student loans by executive order in the media. But more important than that, guys, as I said, is bankruptcy. And but for this group, we would not have had good legislation to fight for last congressional session. And unless this group fights, I would say harder than last time, much harder, I think we'll get another couple, maybe even several good bankruptcy bills out again. But unless we fight, and I mean fight fucking hard, we're going to get screwed by both the Democrats and the Republicans again, because the bad guys know what I know, and what I know is that the cornerstone of this entire scam is the absence of constitutional bankruptcy rights from the loans. So this group is way more important than you might imagine. And how hard you fight with us means absolutely everything. So I think I may just wrap it up there tonight. I appreciate everything that everybody has done. Shut up. I appreciate everybody out there who has been doing our daily actions. Daily action right there. You can see it right there. It all comes down to human beings, normal human people like you and me, not talking heads, and I know I'm talking head right now. The people in Washington, D.C., people on TV, all the bullshit people, all the politicians, they're not going to solve this problem for you. You've got to fight with us. And that is the only thing that has ever worked over the 18 years that we've been doing this. We do daily actions nearly every day. You should get into the habit of doing those. If not every day, maybe once a week, and do like a week's worth, because they're quick. You can do them. It's mostly Twitter stuff. It's very simple. So we've got a few comments here. I'm sorry for lagging on this. I'll try and get through them as quickly as possible. Hey, Christina, I was talking about Christina earlier today, early in this broadcast. I spent the day before work finding articles about schools getting denied student loans, and it should be the signal to shut the entire student loan system down for government and private loans, since they won't give us our constitutional rights to uniform bankruptcy laws back. Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's what I've been saying this whole broadcast. Yeah, I mean, the only question is how disruptive it should be. Now, should we all of a sudden go, whoop, no loans, and oh, by the way, just no money at all for the schools? I think people would lose their fucking minds as a practical matter if that happened. I think politically that would just be massively unpopular. I think a president could probably wind up getting himself impeached if he did that. Well, put it this way. I don't think that we have any president, we don't have any Congress that's willing to pull a plug like that, where all of a sudden one year they're like, whoop, no more student loans. All the colleges are going to have to shut down. Sorry about that. So I think the interim approach of doing a direct funding stopgap while Congress gets its shit together and comes up with a brand new model for financing higher education, hopefully one that doesn't even involve loans, quite frankly. And who knows, it might be the right thing to just directly fund the colleges from there on after. But I don't think that realistically we could do this and literally shut down the colleges. I think there would just be people would just be losing their fucking minds. Pardon my French. So yeah, Christina also says, and I agree with her, we should never replace the student loans ever again. Yeah, the federal government clearly has no business being in the lending business. Now, Congress has to decide what to put in the place of this failed student loan scam. My humble opinion, it shouldn't be loans. Maybe it'll be funding with some requirement for service. Maybe, who knows? There's a lot of pretty interesting ideas out there, and I'm not going to go and start picking one. And it's kind of pointless to do that because Congress is going to have to make those decisions. And I've got some ideas, and I'd love to talk about them if anybody's interested. But as I said, I don't want. We can't be too distracted about whistling past the graveyard. The loans have got to be ended. The lending system has got to be ended. And hopefully we can find a strong president, probably not in this one, but maybe the next one, whoever that may be. But whatever. The point remains. The federal student loan program should be ended. Ended. Like, the worst thing we could possibly do is give another dollar of these completely fucked up federal student loans out to the citizens. We need a clean break. Lending systems fail from time to time. We saw subprime home mortgages fail. We saw S&L loans fail. It does happen. It's not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things, but these loans must be ended. All the legislation that created them should be chucked in the garbage. We need a clean slate. We need to reimagine, reinvent from scratch the way we educate our citizens in college in this country. So, okay, folks, I think I'm going to leave it there at that. It's Friday night. If I seem a little pissed off tonight, well, I guess it's because I am, but I'm more hopeful than ever, ladies and gentlemen. We're only getting stronger as a group. Our argument only gets stronger. Our people, I can see, are getting stronger and stronger. But we need way more people helping us. And I'm not going to say that again. I think I've made that point more than strongly enough. Maybe the last thing I'll said, maybe towards the beginning, please donate for the van. We need to travel. We got to get this van on the road. We've got a lot of things that we need to be doing, going to Iowa and South Carolina and Arizona and other important states starting this summer, or maybe even earlier. In fact, I kind of want to make a stop through Ohio in the next month if we can pull it off. So just do that so I can shut the front door about it or something. But I hope you guys are enthused. I hope you guys will quit listening to all the 99% of the noise that's out there in the zeitgeist right now, and not allow yourself to be confused and distracted by all the fucking bullshit out there. That's the point of all the noise we see. I think it's the point of it all is to confuse and distract you and keep you on your ass doing nothing, sitting around with your tail in between your legs, suffering in silence and in quiet desperation, waiting, watching, hoping, praying, and doing nothing. Prayer is great. Don't get me wrong. I pray every day. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I say, pray and make phone calls and send emails and get off your ass, because I'm no preacher, but what do they say? The Lord helps he who helpeth himself, or something. Anyways, okay, guys, have a great weekend. I'll be back on Sunday night. Things are picking up here. Things are starting to happen in the background. We're seeing various things. My spider senses, my very well honed spider senses on the student loan issue, have been doing some pretty interesting things lately. So I think we have a few other important issues that are going to be dropping here quite soon. And so stay tuned. Educate yourself. Medium platform. And read some of our articles. And let me just dial that in for you one quick time to end this broadcast with. But good luck. I'll see you guys on Sunday. Read our articles. Donate for the van. Do our daily actions. Good luck. Godspeed with your efforts. And God bless everyone. See you on Sunday.